Welcome back to Two Who's Review. I'm Alex,
I'm Fitz.
and we have
Red eyes again.
Sam and James are here.
Always with the red eyes.
It's true. They do. They love a red eye.
They love a red eye.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting. Sorry, Cup, did you want to say something?
Well, yeah, just wanted to say we're reviewing Robots of Death this week. Now you can go ahead.
Thank you. I chose this story because there's sort of thematic consistencies between them. But the thing is, I'd forgotten that in Robots of Death there was red-eyed, antagonist. So
also a slave revolt, but also kind of not really, actually.
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
No,
it is, but we're gaslighted into thinking it's a little bit different. That's the phrase I'm going to use anyway.
Well, yeah, I love watching.
I feel like it's more we're led to believe it is a slave revolt, but then it turns out actually it's just one guy has worn blackface and thinks he's also a slave.
Yeah,
and is telling the slaves with no autonomy that actually
he's wearing chrome face and telling all the others what
to
do.
The word fits.
But it's a bad word, Sam.
I'll say it with you.
Fine, okay.
3,
They're
2,
all a group
1.
of
clankers.
I thought this was a great set of episodes. I thought they were so funny. I think off the bat, though, the one thing that did get me off the bat, opening with the miniature. Oh my god, what happened to good lighting, guys? Watching modern Doctor Who and then immediately watching something with like a touch of saturation, I was like, whoa, they were cooking here.
To be fair, they do miniatures fairly well in the show, given that, the budget they would have been working with. They did a really good miniature with the spaceship in Underworld, which was good because that was one of the few things that was good about that story, at all.
Well, see, one of the really convenient things about spaceships is that they typically don't actually have a lot of moving parts. So it's really easy to do super detailed miniatures and then just make them go weird around the place.
Yeah, this one especially, the lighting,
to an
the
extent,
miniature.
The same is true of CG. Like, a lot of late 90s to early 2000s sci-fi where CG has not aged particularly well, their spaceships tend to hold up a lot better because they are static objects with no moving parts.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it got to the point where I was impressed in this when they had the miniature of the fucking mining vessel, and then they put a window in it, and we could see all the people moving. I remember thinking, "Whoa, good job, boys!"
A lot of those little keyed out elements. We got to see the same thing in the cool ass wood paneled TARDIS. It's like a fucking combi van ass TARDIS.
Yeah, that's it. That's another thing, right? I am still not quite sure whether that's like a second console room or whether they were just experimenting with different designs, because it's in other stories in the season as well.
I remember there was that was the main console room for a good chunk of the show, and I've never been a fan of that like bronze colored.
Yeah, it's weird because I think it might have been probably this whole season that this is part of, season 14, because it started with the Hand of Fear, and then it continued with Deadly Assassin. It's here. This is the fourth story of this season, so presumably it's also in the Face of Evil. I'm not quite sure what they were planning with that, but it's interesting, I guess.
Wanted to do a new set design.
It's such a
just one that I don't like.
It's
Yeah,
such a
it's very
jarring
gloomy.
change to the white circles. It's so different.
Hmm.
It's very gloomy, and
Yeah.
because even with the Ninth Doctor's TARDIS, which is kind of cyberpunk, semi-organic looking and rusty, and darker lighting, that at least still has a sense of light and almost warmth to it. Here, it's just we're inside a wooden box. There's something kind of uncomfortable about it, really.
Yeah, the TARDIS in this
And
one
then,
looks like an old man's home.
yeah, and then it just, I think it just inexplicably changes back in the following season. Again, not exactly sure what that's about, but
I mean, the
oh well.
TARDIS changing its appearance randomly for no discernible reason is not a new thing.
Oh no, I know that. I mean more on the uh production side of things. Like I get you, as you say, Sam. They just wanted to experiment with something different, but like, why
I mean,
and why
my
that?
guess would be literally just we wanted to try something new with a different non all white color palette, and we didn't like it, so we went back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like we had to
It's a
commit
shame
to it
that-
for a full season because we built the set.
And it's a shame that that scene is in that TARDIS, because the scene itself is otherwise pretty good. Like we get the explanation of the transdimensional engineering, and some like the Doctor stating his ethos to Leela, who I assume at this point in the show is very new and hasn't been around very long.
Yeah, this is only the
based-
second
feels
story
like
she was in.
Yeah, second story.
Yeah.
Leela rocks, dude. I have not
Leela's
seen a
awesome,
lot of
yeah.
Leela.
Yeah,
Leela
Leela
immediately.
was my mom's favorite as a kid.
Leela
Yeah,
goes
Leela's
for the
cool.
fucking gun straight up, which I think rules. I was like, yo, she's fucking
Yeah.
pulling up with the heat, dude. She's like, oh,
Yeah.
we're going to an alien planet. Time for me to get the fucking piece out. That shit rocks. Also, we get that banger quote: "If people see you are unarmed, 9 times out of 10 they won't hurt you," which implies that the Doctor has been to Israel before.
I shouldn't laugh at that, but
Yeah. Oh, look, incredible
Wow.
moment where it was like, if you don't have a gun, they won't hurt you. And I'm like, wow, I miss the 70s. What a great time.
Oh god.
What a beautiful, beautiful, naive era.
Well, it also comes off the heels of the Doctor being like, I can control the TARDIS 9 times out of 10, 7, 5.
5. Yeah, well,
Well,
that's the point, presumably,
Yeah.
but it's still an effective line nonetheless.
Mm.
It's
But
it's
yeah,
interesting.
there's
Also,
so much.
sorry, James, what was that?
It just made me wish that Leela was had Donna's sort of agency a bit more, because that opening moment of her being like, yeah, that's cool that you're a peace guy and all that, but when that fails, fucking
I
lock
got a
and load,
fucking
bitch.
gun.
That shit ruled. I wish, and then so much of the rest of this arc was just her being like, well, I actually don't have opinions, and I will be sitting in the corner and sort of just hanging out for the most part.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it's a shame because
I was kind of disappointed because, like I said, Leela was always my mom's favorite as a kid, and I do remember some Leela episodes back when it was on the ABC. But this one, I was like, yeah, this is the first Leela episode I've watched for the show, and she was just not doing much in it for most of the thing. And I was like, I still like that she's here. I like what she is doing. I just wish she was doing more.
Yeah, she's a character who, she's got that sort of, I think, second wave feminist vibe, which is really cool, and she clearly wants to do her own thing. She doesn't take some of the Doctor's shit. But the problem is that stuff. I don't know if it's literally surface level, but it's fairly surface level. Like, it's deep down, she doesn't do as much with the plot as she could be doing. The Doctor often dismisses her as being basically a savage. Like, he literally calls her that because she comes from a tribal planet. It is interesting seeing her more, violent tendencies clash with the Doctor's pacifism. I do like that, because there are other moments where it happens as well, but you get the impression that they're, as you folks say, that there could have been more done with this character.
Yeah, I think it might just be due to the era that it was written in. I think if we got Leela was a companion in probably not the current day and age, because again we've sort of gone back to the beloved Disney slot. But I think if we had like RTD Leela, she would be banging heads. She would be fucking taking names
Yeah.
and kicking ass, and the Doctor would be like,
Or
"Oh
even
no!"
even Leela in the Sylvester McCoy era, because Ace fills a not exactly the same but a similar kind of role, and she does kick ass. She carries
Yeah, yeah.
explosives. She's got a wonderful rebellious streak. She the way I've described her previously, she's a rebel with a cause, because she's always, you know, trying to do the right thing, even if she is kind of hot-headed about it. It's just kind of great.
But imagine if
yes,
she
I
had a
think
gun. Imagine if she immediately was like,
She-
"All right, we've landed. Time to
she
pick up the gun."
carried. There was one story where she carried an electrified baseball bat and she used it to beat the shit out of a couple of Daleks. It was fucking awesome.
That rules. That's sick as
It was
fuck. More of
awesome.
that, please.
Yeah. But I think, as you say, Leela as a character, she is indicative of the social changes that I think were happening in the UK and in Doctor Who specifically. But yes, clearly she's still sort of limited. And the curious thing is, you go back to the late John Pertwee era, which I think, because it was in the early 70s versus the late 70s, you might assume, oh, it's not, maybe they don't give female characters as much agency as they would in later years. But honestly, Sarah Jane, specifically in the Third Doctor era, has more agency than many of the other female characters
She
in
has
the
more
show.
than she does in the Fourth Doctor era. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, fucking A. Yeah. I've said it before. Like, I can't, as much as I love the Fourth Doctor era, one of the worst parts of it is that Sarah Jane just kind of gets relegated to almost a damsel in distress thing, which is so not who she is in the Third Doctor era.
Yeah,
She's
and I
great.
think
Even down
with
to her
Third Doctor.
costuming. Like, there's like a
Mm.
very clear process of almost infantilization for her character.
Yeah. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Because like
You know what?
way back when I was first on the show and we did Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and
Yeah.
that was like her second story ever, and she was like a competent, well-dressed adult Lois Lane type.
Yeah.
And then you get to like her in the Tom Baker era, and she's like dressed like a Blue Peter presenter.
Yeah, well, look at her final story, the Hand of Fear, a story, by the way, in which she spends half of it mind controlled by an alien. That story, she has this really weird, as you say, Blue Peter outfit. It's like she's dressed in like a
overalls and a bright
yeah,
stripy top and
a
all that shit. Yeah,
it's like a red skivvy or jumper or something, and red and white striped dungarees or something. It's weird. It's a shame.
Yeah, I think a lot of the. Speaking of costuming, really quick, Leela, who gave her a license to serve that much cunt? What a great costume! What a fucking A grade fit. I think it ruled the whole time. I was like, yo, I could see someone wearing that in the current day and age. But I think so much of what really disappointed me with Leela, and it was tough going from my beloved Donna to Leela, was I think a companion mechanically within a story should be to contrast against the Doctor in a really harsh way. And I think that's what a lot of revival Doctor Who gets right when they do have a companion. That's why I said I enjoyed Matt Smith and Rory so much. It's because all they fucking do is fight. All they do is fight.
Yeah.
And I think it rules because it gives the Doctor a lot of space to sort of express himself as a character more.
Yeah.
Which you just don't get with someone who has a passive voice.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, as I said, there is elements of Leela fighting back against the Doctor and suggesting alternative ways to deal with the problem and getting frustrated with his pacifism, but also his kind of pretentious intellectualism. But it's never sustained, and whenever it happens, she's diminished, sometimes quite harshly by the Doctor himself. I mean, as much as of a funny moment it is in the end, which he's got that high squeaky voice because of the helium, having the last thing the Doctor says to her and the last line of the story is calling her a mouse. I mean, you just think, was there no better way or more interesting way to write that dynamic?
Look, and I think there would be a way, and I think that's the problem, is we sort of do get glimpses. If there was a story where they were literally just like a beloved Amy Rose type, where they sort of just sat and were like vaguely infatuated with the Doctor and went, "Wow, this is also crazy," instead of fighting back constantly, I would have been like, "Okay, I get the thing." But because we got those little hints of what could have been,
Yeah,
I
it
was like,
was halfway, which is unfortunate.
and
The closest
yeah,
thing I can think of in terms of giving Leela some agency is in the story Horror of Fang Rock, which we've covered on this podcast. It's her thinking and ingenuity that kind of helps to solve the issue and get to the resolution, which is quite interesting. But even then, that dynamic doesn't go as far as it would if she were a modern companion.
yeah, absolutely.
For
And
example.
it's just one of those things where I'm like, it could have been. And again,
Yeah.
that ending conversation, I think it was good. And I just think, yeah, I think it was, if you used it more to point to her naivete in the situation, being like, you ain't in Kansas anymore, buddy. This is space, bitch. You better work.
I like that she's
Instead
able
of
to
being
pick
like,
up.
you stupid woman. It was a good idea executed poorly.
Yeah.
I like that she's able to pick up on body language without really knowing what body language is. Just like the
that
pure
was interesting.
instincts of a hunter being like, "Oh, I don't tell me
Yeah.
off about that guy."
Yeah.
That's nice, and I wish it had been highlighted a little bit more because it inevitably just leads to a conversation where the Doctor for 2 minutes painstakingly teaches her what body language is, even though she kind of already knows.
Yeah. Now,
That being
whether
said,
that's sorry, go ahead.
that being said, Lila fucking rules because
Yeah.
she was like, "Yeah, I'll put the gun aside." Next scene we see her, the fucking knife's out. She always keeps that
Oh
shit on
yeah,
her.
it's
What
awesome.
a
And she chucks it
goated
at the
character.
robot, and it's just she's great.
That was fight choreography in this. Hachi Machi, what a toughie. the stab she goes for. That was oh, what a beautiful moment. But the knife throw was really, really good. I thought they pulled that off well from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, it's awesome. And she does that quite a bit. I think she kills the Sontaran in, I think it's in this season or the next one, where the Sontaran show up and she chucks her knife at the little vent at the back of its neck, and it just completely floors him. It's quite, yeah.
She fucking hit him in the crit spot. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was good.
No, I do love Lila. I feel like Lila had so much potential, but I think just the
it's not
the constraints of the era. It just
turn off in this episode particularly well either. There are other episodes that do more with her.
Yeah, again, Horror of Fang Rock is better. Maybe not perfect with her, but better than this. This isn't. It's not as bad as Underworld, but Underworld is bad for a whole host of reasons. Anyway,
well, there's so much of this episode does rule. I think a lot of it feels very 70s. I think the best bit is when what's his name, the first guy, Chubb dies. They do not give a fuck about Chubb dying. They do not care.
No.
They're like,
well, they do a little bit. Like, he was strangled,
they
Commander.
care that someone was killed because it means other people like them could be killed. They could not give less of a shit who was killed.
I think that fucking rules. They're like, a stupid fucking co-worker died. God, what a bitch.
The guy that was going around being like, "Oh, you're getting a massage, you idiot. Don't you know what these things can do?"
Kill you, as it turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it leads to iRobot meets and then there were none, which is an interesting framing device for this.
Which was fucking weird watching this episode, having recently watched Will Smith and Alan Tudyk's iRobot because it was relevant to Heather, the show we did. And I was just like, this is just fucking sunny.
Yeah. Look, that wasn't the immediate correlation I drew. I have a note that I specifically wrote down, which just says, "I love Among Us."
Oh yeah, I thought the same thing.
The central conceit of this episode is Among Us with robots.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing, is like, they all think they're playing Among Us, but actually no. They're just...
They're playing iRobot.
Yeah.
Beloved.
I mean, as it turns out, one of them is a traitor, but he's not doing the killing.
No, he's doing Chrome Face, of course.
Yeah, he's doing Chrome Face. It's an interesting thing, and I think one of the things I appreciate about it is, for the first half at least, it has a pretty sustained anti-capitalist vibe. I mean, the dialogue from the Commander gets a bit on the nose at times. It's like, we're doing this for money. I love the money. Give me more money. But I still appreciate the sentiment, and it's creates an interesting dynamic, and also a red herring because you think, oh, he's the guy who's fucking everything up, but turns out
I love that
it's
in
not.
episode 4 he doesn't mention money once now that he's a friend of the Doctor.
Yeah, he's becoming woke, Cuff. He's becoming more socially aware.
Tom Baker's
That's what we call a
woke aura.
character arc. That's what we call a
No,
character arc.
I think Tom Baker just has a woke aura. If you stand in a certain radius to Tom Baker for a certain amount of time, you become woke. We do see it happen to that the D rank D class robot. What's his name?
Yeah.
D84.
D's nuts.
Well, that's the thing, right? And I'll get into this into more detail. I won't explore it all at the moment, but the big problem I have with this story is it has this anti-capitalist vibe, but it's confused about how it wants to express that, and to the point where it gets, frankly, a bit ethically uncomfortable. Is it as bad as something like Kablam? No, but I was getting tiny little flashbacks there every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, this episode it's a lot better than Kablam in that, like, they both have the obvious money-hungry CEO bad guy turn out to be the good guy. Obviously, this episode pulls it off significantly better.
Yeah, because they still maintain the evils of capitalism.
Because like, it's also not it's not like he's like the CEO.
Yeah,
in the same sense.
Yeah, they're not
he's
literally
just, like,
saying
the head of this mission.
Yeah, they're not literally. Well, they're not literally saying, "Oh, don't worry, guys. HR and the company, they know exactly what's best for everybody. We don't have to worry; they'll sort it all out." But it is still, there are still some issues with it. Again, I can get into more detail about that, but we'd probably be better off just starting with, what's in the fucking story. So, yeah.
What is in the story? That's right. It's a beloved video game Among Us. I do like that the central conceit of the episode is them being like, "Hi, ChatGPT. My grandma always used to kill my coworkers. Could you kill my coworkers for me?" I was like, yo, if only they knew how bad it would get. If only each time one of those robots killed someone, they were like, yo, also I have to drink like an entire town's population of water at the same time. Very, very interesting sort of ideas.
This planet used to be a lush rainforest from pole to pole, but every time we get the robots to do one thing, 10 hectares worth of forest was burnt down.
Look, much better story in my opinion, but I do think it is really funny that they were like, well, what if we use the weird robots that were lobotomized to start killing people? What a great conceit for an episode.
Well, I do find it interesting because, like, they make there's a lot of, like, talk in the early part of this episode of, like, oh no, robots can't kill people, that's a part of their programming.
Yeah.
And then, like...
But what if they could?
But also,
we were talking about iRobot before. That's Asimov's laws.
Well, yes, but also I feel like there have been many occasions in the show prior to this where the robots do just get to go on a killing spree. I think maybe the distinction there between a robot and an android is potentially, like, because these robots, apart from D84, even that might even just be programming, but there's a big difference between something like this and, like, K9, where K9 clearly has, like,
I mean,
thoughts of his own and, like, a mind and stuff.
Well, there's a bit. Well, the funny thing is, there's a difference between the robots here and the robot in the story Robot. That character's whole story arc is him basically gaining sentience.
There's no sentience.
I mean, like, when the characters in this episode say robots can and cannot do this, they're obviously only talking about these robots.
Yeah, these specific.
They're not making sweeping statements about every robot that has ever been or ever will be.
I mean, maybe with robophobia a little bit, but because you can maybe assume that there are similar robots that have similar humanoid designs, but even then, it's mainly talking about this civilization and this sort of group of robots. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
Like, unless there's a character who's going to be like, but actually, what about the Chumblies? Those could kill people, I'm pretty sure.
What about the War Machines from the War Machine story? What about them? They're called
Famously
war
good.
machines.
Yeah, but they don't kill. They only do war.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, but even
Oh,
then,
God.
the core conceit of the story is them being like, a robot could never kill someone, and then they're immediately like, but what if they could? And everyone goes, oh, true, yeah, what if they could?
Oh, damn. I never thought of it that way.
Oh my
What
god.
if they could? That would be really bad, actually.
That's the
Oh,
arrogance
no,
of
we've
privilege,
completely
guys. Come
fucked
on.
ourselves.
That's what
I
they get
do-
for underestimating them.
I do love the corpse markers. I think the corpse markers, not only, what a cool name. What a cool name. If someone
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
hey, we left a corpse marker, I'd be like, that's sick as fuck. This guy's
Yeah.
clearly got taste. I thought they were immediately going to be like, oh, someone's using the robots to kill people. But no, they were like, what if someone is doing this as a kind of bit. Also, kind of crazy that someone went and put the sticker that you put on dead robots onto dead people, and no one was like, hey, what about the guy who does the robot stuff? Do you reckon he could be doing it?
Well, that's
And
what
it
I
was
was
like,
gonna
no,
say. Like
he's
it's
Do you think maybe the
it's
robot maintenance guy who has access to the deactivated robot stickers might be the one putting deactivated robot stickers on all these dead people?
well, it's a
surely
mystery
not.
that it's a mystery that doesn't hold up to a huge amount of scrutiny. But I do
Yeah.
appreciate that in like
Yeah.
the third episode, like basically the entire supporting cast vanishes, so that you do have like a whole episode where you don't see what the side cast are doing, and you do get the moment of like, oh, I haven't seen this person in a while. I wonder what they do.
Hmm.
I haven't seen this person in a while. I wonder what they're up to. Like for
Hmm.
a brief
Hmm.
moment, it does give you a sense of like, oh, who is it? Who can I trust?
Well,
It's a
because
decent framing device for that, because you could at that point you could be like, oh, the guy who's clearly money hungry, maybe he's doing this to get a better share of the profits. That could be a thing. You know, there's a decent enough justification for some of the other characters that when you don't see any of them for a while, it does lead to like a, ooh, I wonder what's going on.
Yeah, I could
well,
see that
it
being.
does do this thing that I think is pretty interesting, where it sets up this sort of dramatic irony where we, the audience, know that robots are killing people, and like we're kind of primed to be like, and the robots are probably doing it of their own accord. And it's fun to see all these people pointing the finger at each other when
Yeah.
we know who is actually responsible. But then
Yeah,
to also have that rug pull and be like, oh no, actually it was one of them. And it's not that the robots are becoming sentient. They're just following this guy's orders and only him.
Hmm.
Because
yeah.
then you also have like D84 in there
There...
as like, oh no, this is a robot who is becoming sentient actually.
That he
So maybe it is
rules.
Well,
happening to all of the other ones. And then actually, no, it's not. He's just crazy and thinks it's happening to them.
well, one of the thing, it is like a small thing, and I only really noticed it today when I was watching the story again. But the bit where one of the robots is being given commands by Taran Capel, you can see his face on the screen, and I assume the intention there is to distort his face enough so the audience can't see who it is, but it's not effective enough. You can still pretty clearly see it's him, so the mystery kind of gets ruined in that moment. I don't know how intentional that was, but I'd be willing to bet that it wasn't very intentional. So
I bet it's the kind of thing where it's like,
mm,
if you're watching this on a CRT from the 70s, it's grainy enough that it's harder to tell. But because we have high resolution monitors now, it's slightly easier to make out.
I think that
maybe.
I think this the context in which it was made too is also one of the big things that would have helped with the mystery. Is I think it's very easy
Yeah.
for us to sort of sit here banging out in like an hour 20 and be like, hey, yeah, I could see it. But if you gave me 20 minutes of that and was like, well, who
Yeah.
did it? Maybe over the course of a week or however it went between airing, I'd be like, maybe
It'd be
it
over
is
a
another
4-week
guy.
period. But yeah,
Yeah,
like
you know.
that's a good point.
Over the
Um,
course of a month, I think being left
yeah.
with the mystery long enough, I could sort of abstract
Yeah,
it
I
out,
guess that
but I
makes
could
sense.
make it a bit more intriguing.
And you'd get distracted by all those great cliffhangers.
I would. I'd be like, the mine is about to sink. I think it rules that the mine is the thing that moves. What a great little bit of
Yeah, it's pretty
sci-fi
fun.
world building there.
And I was getting ready to praise the second cliffhanger for being, well, they they stop themselves from running into the cliff pretty soon, but at the very least, it sets up the impetus for the second half of the story where they're slowly sinking in the sand. But even that is resolved within 5 or 10 minutes as well. So
It's
Yeah, it
resolved
rolls.
in like 5 or 10 seconds because the what happens
He
is
says,
it
"Hey, don't worry about it."
Patel? Yeah, someone. Yeah, yeah, it's Patel. He's just like, oh, yeah, okay, don't worry about it. Give me that fucking wrench, and then he just snips the cords, and they're all good. So, woo. Glad
That's
our
the
characters
problem. Someone
avoided that.
flipped the slowly sink into the sand switch.
Oh,
We just gotta get that turned back on again, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
an amateur mistake. An amateur mistake.
Isn't that basically the ending of The Edge of Destruction, Sam? Like someone just said, oh, we didn't flip this switch on the ship. Better fix
I
that.
don't remember. It's been too long.
I do think it
I
rolls.
wouldn't
I
be
think so.
surprised, but
So much of the traps of being a serialized show in the 70s just really
Oh, yeah.
shines through in this couple of episodes.
Yeah.
I think it rocks.
And look, like I said, there are some stories in Doctor Who Classic where the cliffhangers are handled fairly well. We've seen them on this podcast ourselves. But I think I said 70% of the cliffhangers are not particularly good, and I honestly think that's a pretty fair estimation. And by the way, that's just counting all the cliffhangers that aren't satisfying. Do you remember, Cuff, when we did the Sea Devils, and there's that really weird cliffhanger that
Yeah.
clearly should have ended like 3 minutes earlier, but it didn't. So the pacing looks so awkward.
I think it was.
Yeah.
There's also been some where I've been like, there was a cliffhanger and then they resolve it, but then immediately something worse happens. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, because it's like,
That
oh
rules.
no, like, oh no, the ship's about to sink. The doctor saved it, but then the doctor got kidnapped.
Yeah. And that's where
And,
you put your
just
cliffhanger.
kidnap the fucking doctor. That's the thing that actually matters to the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then if you missed the show that week and you went to go start watching it the week after, you'd be like, where the fuck is that? What happened here?
No, that's okay, because sometimes they have like 2 or 3 minute long segments where they recap the previous episode, so you're never
Well,
gonna
it's not even a recap. It's literally the same footage.
just literally the ending of the last
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
Yeah, the last
Yeah.
one.
Again.
So
Very, very good. And look, a lot of that is just due to the fact that they did need to make a serialized program in the 70s.
Yeah.
And not only did
Yeah.
A, they have to kind of jump through those hoops, but B, because they had to produce a new thing every single week, they didn't really have the
Yeah.
breathing room to think
No.
of, you don't have the elbow room to be like, all right, how do we do this in a better way? They were just like, we
Yeah.
know this works, let's just stick to it, and let's like plow through.
I mean, it's why I think I said even at the beginning of this whole podcast when Cuff and I were starting it that as much as I do love the classic series, and I do think there's quite a lot of room for innovation and experimentation, that a lot of the times that does not manifest in the plot because of the constraints that it is a serialized TV show made by the BBC in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. There's a formula there, and they need to stick to it. You will occasionally come across stories that really do something different, or at least do that formula really well. But a lot of the time, it's just limited by
As
what it
someone
has to do.
Yeah, as someone who's intimately familiar with how the paper trails of TV programs work over the course of many years, I just saw it and I was like, oh yeah, there's a producer being like, this is how it has to happen, and then being like, okay,
Yeah.
we could argue about this for a week, but that is a week cut out of our production time that we need, and especially with a show that is so special effects intensive and costuming and set intensive, you just don't have the wiggle room to sort of work out of that.
Yeah.
I mean, like back when we watched the Voyager episode, Latent Image,
Yeah.
and I brought up the fact that this character, who is like the reason for the Doctor spiraling out, never showed up once before that episode and is never brought up again after that episode, and like it's just even that was like late 90s at that point. And even then, it was like, well,
Hmm.
that's because episodes of that kind of TV had to be self-contained, because if you didn't catch it when it came out, you probably weren't going to see that episode for
Yeah.
years after that point. Like Voyager specifically, my parents had a VHS collection of Star Trek Voyager, and this was at a time when like VHS was your best bet for home video stuff,
Yeah.
and for a 45-minute episode length TV show, you could fit 2 episodes per VHS tape. So they had a
Yeah.
mostly complete Voyager collection that was like 100 VHS tapes.
Jeez.
So like that's the kind of media consumption environment in the 90s to the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So back in the fucking 70s, if you miss an episode, you're fucked.
And
Like,
even
it's the reason why there are so many episodes of the classic era that just don't exist anymore, except in people's memories if they're old enough to have seen them when they came out live.
or in maybe in audio form if you're lucky.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing is that formula or that method of communicating certain amount of information to the audience so that they can keep up each week, that would still continue into the 2000s and the 2010s to a certain extent, because yes, you had shows like HBO stuff, right, that didn't rely on it so much. But you also had FX shows like Breaking Bad, which if you watch that, it's kind of miraculous how they did it, because obviously it's a brilliant show, but it's curious how much they repeat themselves because they have to keep the audience updated each week. So again, even into the before streaming services really took off, basically that's how television worked, because people would sit down in front of the TV and watch it. It's very different.
Let me tell you, they miss it. They all miss it so much. All the people in high up jobs in that industry, they're all like, man, it used to be, life could be a dream.
Hey, they sort of still do it at Amazon and Disney, where they release one episode per week, so they're, there's something.
And they only do that for certain things, though. And that's only
and they do it
years and years of like full season drops.
Yeah, they do it for the money, right?
Nerves.
And not even so not. They do it for the money, and not even in the same way that they used to do it, because that was just the way that shows like Doctor Who, for example, did it. They did it just that was the format. That was the genuine limitation.
Well, I mean,
here.
There is obviously, like, if you have like an 8-episode season and you spread that out over 8 weeks, that's either someone who has to make the active choice not to subscribe to your streaming service for 8 weeks and then subscribe at the end and watch it all in one go, or they bite the bullet and subscribe for 2 months and watch it as it comes out each week. But I do think it's another big element of it is that people are more likely to keep talking about a show and have its like it has a bigger cultural impact if it comes out weekly, because everyone can talk about episode 1 of, like, if Andor came out all at once, people would talk about it and it would still be as good as it is, like, because the episodes wouldn't be any different, but the discussion around it would be so drastically different. Because everyone would talk about it for like the month after the whole thing dropped, and then the conversation would peter out, versus talking about this chunk in exhaustive depth for a week, then this chunk in exhaustive depth for a week.
Yeah, I guess it's true. Well, not to mention all the theories
of the poor media.
During those discussions.
I was gonna say, think of the poor media analysis YouTubers. What will their red arrow thumbnails?
I mean, like, what would Mrs. Flood have to do in season 2 of Doctor Who if it all came out in one day?
Wink at the audience, Sam. What are you talking about?
But what's the point of winking at the audience if the audience is going to see the episode
where
everyone is disappointed by the reveal in like a couple of hours as opposed to 2 months?
because Sam, it's funny
There's no
and
point.
weird.
There's no point in winking at the audience.
Don't question RTD2, Sam. What are you doing? It's funny and weird. That's all that matters, apparently. Anyway, getting back to the Robots of Death.
I think the robot costumes really ruled. At the
Oh, yeah, they're
start, I
pretty
was
good.
like, "Whoa, these are shit!" And then as they went on, I think all the costuming in this is good. I think all the
Yeah, it's pretty
people
decent.
I think
served
the
a lot of
choice
time.
of costuming for the people working on a mining station was weird.
Yeah, welcome back, Flash Gordon. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very
Because it felt like they wanted to be like, ooh, look at the opulent super capitalists, but at the same time, they're the ones doing
Have-
a lot of the for this time period blue collar work. Which, granted, a lot of it is just like entering commands on a control panel.
You know what it reminded me of? And I don't know if any of you folks have heard of this movie, but in the 1920s in Russia, there was a movie that came out called Alita, Queen of Mars. It's got nothing to do with Alita Battle Angel, but it's about this
Well,
Queen
then
of
I've lost
Mars.
interest.
But the costumes in that movie are really wacky and strange and over the top, and that's what reminded me of. They've got the characters in this story have these weird headgear that they're wearing, and they're very, very regal. I mean, as you say, for mining gear, it doesn't seem very practical, does it?
Yeah, like I don't hate the designs or think that they're
Yeah, they're
bad.
fun. They just don't
They
make
just
as much
feel
sense.
kind of out of place for this setting and
Yeah.
the roles that these characters would have.
But it's one of those things where, yeah, it does make a lot of sense, but I wouldn't want this story to not have them. Like, they're just so weird and fun that I just kind of go with it. And it doesn't ruin the story, I don't think, but it's strange, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think look, I think it was an attempt at world building in a way. You know, I think there was some dude there being like, and of course these are all the hyper opulent guys from the old rich houses, so they're gonna dress
Yeah,
like
there was something
fucking
there.
Flash Gordon. Like I get it, but also I don't know. Maybe it's just because it wasn't sort of directly addressed in any way because I'm stupid and I need everyone to say everything to me directly. But just because they were like, this is a bit of background information that you can infer if you want, I was like, oh, look, I'll give them the pass for that. The robots, though, they all ruled. That was great.
Yeah,
I like that the evil guy, had a weird fucking ceremonial robe when he was lobotomizing the robots. Just very briefly. I was like, that's so much good shit.
Yeah.
What else was really good? I think D84 rocked. I wish we had more D84.
I like 84, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was probably the most underutilized aspect, honestly.
Yeah, I unironically think I wish. Look, if I had done this little run of episodes, I would have separated Leela and the Doctor immediately. I would have made D84 the companion character, and because he was really good at just being like vaguely unobtrusive but still asking questions, and I would have stuck Leela with the rest of the people who I think the best part of the episode for me was when they were locked in that like sort of main deck area with the robots coming in and the Doctor was out running around.
Well, I think the thing is, for the most part, I think it does get better in the second half, and the problem with that is, like, you'd think that would be a really good thing because that's how most stories essentially should go, and certainly it's frustrating when you have a story that has a strong first half but not a strong back half. So I liked the fact that it got stronger in the second half for the most part, but it still leaves the first half as feeling weaker, certainly, and that's a bit frustrating.
I don't know, the first half had a character called Zilda who I kept mishearing the name of and getting excited.
I kept mishearing Chubb as Chud, and I was like, no, little Chuddy is dead. Not our beloved little Chuddy. Yeah, I
Oh
think
god.
I kept hearing
look,
Pool as Paul, and I thought it was like very funny to have just like a very standard 21st century name in amongst fucking Zilda and Binkus
And
and Wing
Chub.
Wang.
you're gonna love a little series called Dune.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it rule. I think
Oh dear.
there is such a definitive split between like the first and second half, though. There's a split between the Among Us half and the like you are now being hunted by robots half. And I think the problem is it's not even necessarily that the second half is stronger, but I think that the second half becomes stronger, but it also gets a whole bunch of new weaknesses as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem, is it doesn't just like grow in strength, it sort of like changes into a different type of story. You're like, okay, what are we doing here? Really,
Go
I like the lobotomy ice picks. I like that we're just lobotomizing robots. That fucking rules. I like the guy having a fucking PTSD attack.
ahead.
That
I
was
mean,
pretty
well,
sweet.
it's a shame in a way, like the robophobia element of it, that is very interesting in its own way, and you probably could have done more with that. But again, the problem with the story is it is a bit thematically confused because you're not exactly sure how to feel about the robots. Do you fully sympathize with them? Do we explore that fear that humans have? Is it justifiable? But it doesn't do
Like,
that.
ultimately, based on how everything shakes out, it's like, no, only D84 is like sentient in a meaningful way. The rest of the robots are they are just machines.
Yeah.
They have no autonomy. They have no like capacity for individuality or
Yeah.
thought in the way that D84 has. So
I
it's like, actually, no, this isn't a slave revolt because they are not slaves. They are still tools. Maybe one day they will go the way of D84, and then that becomes a discussion, but that doesn't happen in this episode.
Yeah.
thought the way this episode was going to end, I thought they were setting up to be like, well, there's the two circuits, there's the external circuit and the internal circuit. And I thought they were going to set up that they were going to switch, what's his name? Chromeface's sort of position in the robot authority with D84, and then D84 would be like, my robot brothers, listen to me. I'm the actual robot, and they'd be like, so true, we should. And I thought they were going to set up for that, and they just didn't. The whole ending of this was fucking crazy to me. They just resolution is for pussies. Yeah, we're just gonna use the little. We're gonna use the helium. We're gonna lobotomize this guy. Our beloved friend D84 is gonna commit suicide, and then we're gonna get back in the TARDIS, baby. We're back in.
We're gonna leave two people unconscious. We're not even gonna hang around to make sure they're okay. We're gonna leave them as fast as humanly possible. Like, there is a thing in the Doctor Who where it's like the Doctor likes to go somewhere, help out, and then leave without much fanfare.
And then
he
usually
at least sticks around to make sure that everyone's okay before being.
Or to have some final goodbyes or something.
Well, final goodbyes to all the people that he met.
Contrast it to the last episode we reviewed of Planet of the Ood, where he wraps it up, but then we still get that scene where they're all sort of standing around him at the TARDIS, and he gets to be like, well, what a great adventure we all had. With this one, they were just sort of like, well,
that's the end of that chapter.
We did
and
that.
by the way, does Paul doesn't die, does he? I honest to God can't remember. I should, but
I don't think so.
No, he doesn't.
Well, that's the thing. That's someone else that they're just leaving. So, he's got terrifying PTSD. Yeah, the company will take care of it.
He's forever
it doesn't matter.
70s. PTSD isn't a real thing.
Yeah, it's robophobia, guys. Do you remember when all those guys went to?
He's just a coward. Everybody, Do
you remember when all those guys went to war and the Great War, and then they came back with robophobia from all the shelling?
Yeah.
Well, that is such a sudden. It's such a sudden change in the fourth episode, where it's like, prior to this, most of the side characters, they had at least some kind of like thing about them, where it was like, the main dude is money, and then you've got like Poole, who's helping the Doctor and Leela out, and is generally like curious and like questioning of what's going on. And then in the fourth episode, it just becomes this sudden like, no, we're abandoning all that. Anyone who's helpful good guy. Anyone who's unhelpful might as well not exist. Like the money hungry guy
Yeah.
shifts on a dime. He smiles in this where he doesn't smile at all. Pretty much in the first 4 episodes. Now that he decides he wants to help the Doctor, he didn't actually kill that guy, and it was robophobia incident. It's all just so sudden. Where it's like they spend the first 3 episodes being like, who are we to? Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? We don't know. And then they've decided. And then they say, okay, let's rewrite all the characters' personalities for this episode specifically, so that they can be what we need them to be. We're not going to have something where the guy has to like contend with his money grubbing and be like, maybe it's because of my my lust for wealth that I've led everyone into this trap. It's just like, oh no, I've instantly changed from mistrusting the Doctor to now I like him and want to help, despite literally everything I've been trying to...
Yeah. Don't let the robots kill me, Doctor. I'm a good guy now.
Yeah, I think that ultimately was just a part of them sort of not understanding or just not really thinking through the mechanical format of the story in a way where you're like, okay, so we're going to hit first act is this, and by the end of it, we want to know X, Y, and Z. And then second act is this, and we want to know how X, Y, and Z has changed. And third act is this, and this is how we're going to resolve the problem. They sort of just went, well, we've got a cool setup, and then a mystery will happen, ? And then I guess he's got to do something to fix it. There'll be, like, maybe there'll be a confrontation, and they'll do it. And, we need, like, a fun spin for it. We need the Doctor to be the clever one, so maybe he can use this helium, and that'll be how I was like, that's also deranged plan. We're going to use helium to change this guy's voice so the robots don't recognize him, and then also our friend, the robot who is becoming sentient, is going to commit suicide in order to take out other robots.
Hey, that's the beauty of Doctor Who, baby. It's wacky, it's experimental, and the weird thing is, the changing. I'm loath to kind of bring this up, but the changing of the guy's voice with the helium. One, it's got a really... there's literally a scene like that in The Big Bang Theory, so that's sort of the caliber of drama that we're looking at. But the
Sheldon
weird
Cooper
thing
is my favorite Doctor.
The weird thing is, and this might sound a bit ridiculous, I could have been much more bothered by that particular climax. I don't know why, but I'm like, when I was watching, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Like it.
Well, I mean, it doesn't completely make sense that the guy doesn't notice at all that his voice is getting higher.
Oh yeah, no. That
I wonder what's going on here. Maybe I should look around for a trap.
No, but
also,
he was so consumed with violence and vengeance.
He believes wholeheartedly that he is a robot. Therefore, he would not be affected by helium. So his own
even though he could probably hear his...
is making it just ignoring the fact that his voice is audibly changing.
Yeah, I don't think the ending of the episode was inherently bad. I don't think it was like... I don't think I was like, whoa, what a shitter. I just think it was rushed and strange. It wasn't that it left a bad taste in my mouth.
But it works. It's not stupid.
Yeah, it just came and went, and I was like, is that it?
It was just very abrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything really, I think, as you folks have said about episode 4 is pretty rushed, but especially the climax and the resolution, because it all happens. I think I don't know. I don't think I checked the timestamps, but that bit, like, basically from the time the Doctor gets captured by Capel to the ending, I think I'd be surprised if it was 10 minutes. It was probably shorter than that. It's just very strange.
So tight there.
Yeah.
Also, a great part of these episodes, lobotomizing the robots, they all got the little things sticking out their head, and then putting the hat in the little scarf. What a delightful bit of whimsy. I was like, yeah, that's Doctor Who, baby.
That is not the Doctor. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Also, the funny thing, this is just a weird pun, and I don't know if if this phrase had as much strength or relevance back then as it does now, but when the robot said, "Please do not throw hands at me,"
I didn't write that down. I was like, yo, these guys throwing hands for real.
Yeah, oh god.
It ruled. I thought that whole scene was kind of cool. I like the big fan of her getting out the hand size, what was it, like a vase or something?
Yeah,
and then
just bagging
just
it.
beating the shit out of it. I was thinking about the actor in the poor costume. She's just
Yeah.
wailing on this guy's hand. I'm like, oh, buddy. And then when they
Oh,
disconnected the
man.
hand, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Then
a
you
bit
have the
cute.
shot where his arm is suspiciously a foot longer.
Yeah, it ruled. But so much of that. That's like I think it's enough to sort of keep that suspension of disbelief, and it's fun enough that I'm like, instead of being like, you know. And I think that's where
Yeah.
classic Doctor Who really thrives, is in that
Hmm.
space. It's sort of a similar space to theater where you're like,
Yeah.
it's not a perfect effect, but it's
Hmm.
functionally fun
Well,
enough
Yeah,
that I'm willing to suspend it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's like what my general philosophy on media. Like, there is no piece of media that is perfect. There is only,
No.
am I having a good enough time with this to overlook the flaws that it has?
Absolutely. And I think, classic Doctor Who is it contains such good and bad examples of that.
Well,
Yeah.
and
You know?
and that's one of the things too. I've said this before. The special effects in particular in Doctor Who is very, it borders on like high school theater productions, right? But it's the style has become, even by this point, this is season 13, it had become like so iconic and so weird and unique to Doctor Who that it gives it a strong sense of flavor. So yeah, the effects can look a little bit fake, and yeah, you can clearly tell that effect is basically just a bit of, a bit of bubble wrap covered in paint, but it's still, there's something interesting about it, and I just keep coming back for it, man. Like,
Yeah.
I really dig it.
It's fun. It
Interesting
is good.
style. By the way, something else I wanted to talk about here. The casting. Good on this story for having 2 people of color in the cast.
Yeah, I wanted to bring
Um,
that up as well. That was something I was noticing as I was like, this is the 70s, and then after watching Leela immediately get sidelined of any agency being like, oh, okay. And then they went in and like 2 of the lead characters were women with agency, and there were a couple of people of color there. I was like, whoa.
Well, the weird thing is, one, first off, what happened to Cass? I don't. He was played by a guy. His name was Tariq Yunus. He was apparently born in Karachi, in India. But does anyone remember what happened to him? Because I don't. Because he
He was
just
in
sort
the
of.
bed. They
Yeah,
found him in the
he
bed.
just
He was
sort of.
dead.
Oh, okay. Because I don't.
Yeah,
God, maybe I wasn't just paying
I
attention.
think,
But
I'm pretty sure that happened off screen as well. Like,
It
they just come in,
yeah,
they
okay,
come in and they're like, Cass is dead. Like, we don't see a
yeah.
right.
body, we don't see anything like that. He's just killed off screen by
Sure.
No,
a
we
robot.
see the body. We see the body because he's
Oh,
in
we
that
do?
weird bedroom where there's like um the curtain in front of the bed.
Mm.
Remember there's that
Um.
bit the doctor does that bit where he's sitting there and he's like, hello, DD4, I'm the doctor, and he was like, oh fuck, shit, I'm a robot, I can't be talking. They go in there and they open the thing and they find him dead there, and then they're like, oh, he's got a corpse marker on him. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. The other thing I wanted to mention about people of color being main characters. A little weird that this story should show up in this season, given that at the end of it there would literally be a character in yellowface.
Yep.
Yo, for real?
That's the very next
Yeah, didn't you
story,
know?
isn't it?
Maybe you didn't, but yes, the final story, The Talons of Wang Shang, and it's a shame because it's, from memory, it's a pretty good story and it's quite well liked. But yeah, wow, ooh boy, yep, dude in yellowface, right there, and
Hell
it's
yeah.
uncomfortable and it's disturbing and it's not
Hell
good.
yeah, dude. Welcome back to the 70s.
I mean,
Jesus.
we shouldn't be too surprised. Like
Yeah.
there is a guy with
No.
chrome face in this episode, as we have
No,
discussed at
of
length.
course.
Yeah. I
But
think
also, more realistically, there are plenty of British comedies that were doing blackface well into the 2000s.
like
Oh yeah, they would too.
when did
Oh
Breakfast at
god,
Tiffany's come out? That was some pretty
that was
fucking
1963.
1963, was it? Because this is I was
Yeah.
gonna say this is sort of like prime. It's
Yeah,
okay to
but
do it's actually
but
really
then
funny to do yellowface era.
but then you say that, but then a movie like Soul Man came out, I think, in the late 80s, so there's that.
Yeah.
And as Sam said, what was it? Is it Little Britain that used
Oh, plenty, yeah, I mean,
blackface?
Little Britain is one of them. Mighty Boosh did it several times.
Yeah.
Like, there's
It's
a bunch of shit from way more recently than you'd expect. that's just like, yeah, we'll do a minstrel show. Who cares?
Oh, and of course, there's
Hey,
Chris
it's
Lilly's
Saturday is coming
Australian show.
back. Well,
Oh fuck!
time to
I remember
bust out
watching.
that old chestnut.
I remember watching that episode and how back into I think it was 2009, the only episode of the revival series. Gee, I wonder why. And God, that was uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
look, and I think that was the thing coming into this episode is I was expecting a lot of that. You know, I was expecting to see some real crazy. I was ready for someone to start calling all the women birds. You know, I was ready for all that sort of shit to start flying. But the fact that they did have women who were like
Doing
actual
stuff.
characters who had agency, and the fact that they did have just like straight up an Indian dude there in like a lead speaking role that wasn't diminished in any way. I was like, oh, okay. That's wow, thank you, BBC. And then lo and behold, mere episodes later, they were like, well, we've been very good boys here at the BBC, so I think we deserve a little yellow face as a treat.
And yeah. Honestly, given when Doctor Who was made, I think overall it could have been worse. There probably could have been more examples of that sort of thing than there was, but obviously that you're going to find them every now and again. It was a British show, for goodness sake, that was made in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I want to talk now about some of the bigger issues I had with this story, because I sort of highlighted them earlier. So the problem, I think, is that it's thematically confused about what it's trying to say with the robots, and it does lead to uncomfortable moments. We've obviously got Chrome Face there, but the problem with him, he's situated as this sort of revolutionary type, albeit a very controlling one, which is disturbing in itself. But they do the Marvel villain thing, right? Where they're like, oh, wait, the villain's making sort of cogent points about how this group of slaves shouldn't be slaves. Oh, that's not very good. What will do? Oh, he's a maniac. He wants to rule the world. Okay, fixed it. That's a band-aid solution. Don't need to think critically about these issues. He's just the bad guy. So there's that. The second part is that the Doctor consistently sort of denies the personhood of the robots, and it again, if they wanted to just commit and say that these were non-sentient robots, okay, but they don't do that, and so it gets weird and confused and uncomfortable. And there's one line which I genuinely thought was pretty icky and weird, and I felt like this even when I watched this like for the first time in years, and that was months ago. But it's where the Doctor basically says, oh, you realize robots wouldn't exist without humans. Now, here's the thing. If you're looking at the world building of the story, super technically you could say that's true, because, yeah, humans invented the robots. But when I hear a line like that, it honest to God reminds me of when right-wing idiots will say, like, well, you nutty feminist, you should stop complaining about your situation, because you realize without men, you wouldn't have all your fancy TikToks and your nice makeup, and hell, you wouldn't even have voting rights if we did just give them to you. So, you know, it's really,
Yeah, I think it is really at odds with itself from that angle, especially because D84, there's like a whole moment where the Doctor's like, "Ooh, you made a mistake, or you had like you fucked up. So you are one of these days you'll be real.
You'll be a real boy.
He also has the moment.
You'll be a real boy, Pinocchio.
Yeah. He initially gets the robot, the device, whatever it is, and he warns the 84 to stay away because of the.
Yeah. I think that's the interesting thing, is it's sort of caught up too much in its own narrative to really consider the social connotations around what it's saying. I think that's the issue.
They do pretty definitively say like, no, these robots are not alive in the same way that a person or this specific individual robot is alive. The rest of them, they are just machines. They don't have any personhood to deny.
Yeah.
So, like, it's...
yeah, I suppose, but then having the whole weird revolutionary element, and I get that the guy, he's obviously meant to be the villain, but the point is, it is just too thematically inconsistent, I think, for me. It's not horrendous. It's certainly not Kablam levels of disturbing or stupid, but it's just
This is no
it could have been
Interstellar
better
Song
thought out.
Contest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just not conscious enough of its own what it's saying.
Yeah. And
That's
again,
all right.
maybe that was just a restriction of the times. It's like, oh, this is. I'm trying to do something serious here, guys. But it's like, no, it's Doctor Who. We're just here to give people a fun romp.
Hang on, sorry. Very unrelated, but we were talking earlier about the mahogany TARDIS and the reason why they went back to the white one. I've just read here. It's because shortly after this episode aired, they put the set in storage and the wooden walls warped, so they physically couldn't use it again. So they had to go back to the old set.
Oh, that's interesting.
Dude, they fucked their TARDIS up. They fucked up their wood-paneled van.
Jesus.
Huge rip. Deeply tragic, because I did like that. I think it immediately set the tone. But, hey, look, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of serialized TV.
Was like, no, I'm bad. I must destroy myself.
Yeah.
So they go back to something that looks good.
Yeah. Is there much else to say about this story?
I think we've covered it.
I think the problem is ultimately there's not a lot in this story.
I mean, yeah, we've covered all of it pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, there is a bit of it, but it's
but if there was more to discuss, it would have been thematically thought through to the point where we could.
Oh yeah.
Like
it's
like there are a lot of pieces here, but they don't
Yep.
mesh together as well as they could.
It's a classic thing with class. Sorry, James, go ahead.
Very wide, not very deep.
Yeah, it's a classic thing in classic Doctor Who where the sum is greater than the whole, and that happens a lot. Unfortunately, even by those standards, this is a bit lackluster. As you say, James, broad but not deep. Like there's stuff happening in it. There's a fair amount of stuff, and if you look at the final episode, there's a crazy amount of stuff happening, but it doesn't run deep enough to be consistent, and it doesn't run deep enough to be certainly thematically particularly interesting. So yeah. Do we want to rank this thing?
Yeah, what do people think of this one? What are you gonna give it?
Honestly, I want to give it like a 6. It was 6 or 5. Again, not because it's inherently like it doesn't commit any real sins, and it's got some nice points, but it just it's kind of nothing. You know, there's not a lot. There, you know, and I said before that was sort of the weaker points of modern Doctor Who was when it stopped sort of doing anything of note. Not even bad or good, and I think this sort of it wrapped itself up at the end by having some interesting things and playing with some vaguely interesting concepts. But I think for the bulk of it, I was like, this could have been a tight 40, dog. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna land on a 6.
I think I'm gonna go with a 5 actually, because we've seen like stories we've given a 6, and I enjoyed them more. Like I enjoyed the Leisure Hive more than this. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5.
I'm also going to give it a 6.
Sure.
Yeah. Again, no cardinal sins, and there's a lot to like about it, but also there's not a lot to love about it. You know.
Yeah.
Are you gonna settle on a 6 or a 5, James?
I'm gonna settle on a 5. I think.
Right.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on to these 2 episodes. It was great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's been a delight to watch Doctor Who again and be like, wow, what a great show.
And if you ever want to come back, just let us know.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Happy to have you.
Go ahead and plug your games again if you want.
Everybody needs to wishlist Anti-Citizen Red. It is a government mandate. If you do not wishlist Anti-Citizen Red, we will send people to your house to log on to your Steam and wishlist it for you. By the time this episode's out, I will have had a brand new game that I made myself up called Employee of the Year of the Snake. It's on itch.io. You can find all my games on the internet at itch.io/skullschemes. If you ever need me, I do live in your walls, as mentioned at the top of the episode, so you can sort of just yell loud enough.
You will hear.
I will. I won't respond, but I will hear.
Fair enough.
Which is more unsettling in a way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But next time, myself, Fitz, and Sam will be back to discuss the two-part story, the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. But until
Neat.
then, I'm Alex.
I'm Fitz.
Sam.
And I'm living in your walls.
Never leave.
And remember, please don't throw hands at me.
I'm allergic to hands.